topic, something else I wanted to talk about that I talk a lot about actually is identity, right? And with you specifically, I wanted to talk about identity and reinventing yourself. Because I think when I look at your story, I see a lot of transformation and growth going on in your life at this stage. And I don't know how long you've had your dream that you're currently pursuing and knocking out of the park. Uh, but what are your thoughts about growth, reinvention, and if somebody's looking at a goal that they want to achieve, but they feel there's a disconnect between that goal and their concept of who they are, talk to that person about reinventing themselves and being able to grow into the person they believe can achieve that dream.
That's so good. First of all, I would say it's never too late to pivot. And I think very often we think like, oh, I'm too far into this to do anything different. Or, I've spent this amount of money on an education for this career or, for this path. And it's never if we are still living, it is not too late to pivot. So that would be the first thing that I would say, because I think so many people have a dream that maybe is different than the path that they're currently on. And they just feel like, oh, they missed their chance. If you're still thinking about that dream, I don't think it's too late. Like we can figure out a way to make that happen. So that would be the first thing. And then the next thing that I would say is if you have I say this all the time, if you have a dream in your heart, it's there for a reason. It is there because it's meant for you. So whether that's, you're dreaming of, climbing to that next level promotion, or you want to make a career pivot, or you want to start a side hustle, or you want to write a book, or you want to speak on stages or start a podcast or whatever, a lot of times we dream of that and then we just think, oh, well, but that's meant for them. That's not meant for me. Oh, they can do that, but I can't do that. And I don't believe that. I think it's true. Like if you are dreaming about that thing, it's because it's meant for you. Like I do not dream about being a deep sea diver. It's not something that ever crosses my mind. It probably does now because I use this example a lot, but I have zero desire to do that. That dream is not meant for me. That dream is meant for somebody else. But there is someone who dreams of that, and that dream is meant for them.
Yeah.
So if you are thinking about it, or a great sign of that is when you see somebody else achieving those things. If you feel that tinge of like jealousy or comparison or whatever, that means it's because you want that too. And I think it's first starts inside of just really getting clear on number one, what is it that you want? Number two, uh, what is that vision for yourself?
Okay.
And then we can work on believing that you're meant for that dream and then taking action. Because usually what comes next when you get excited, you're like, okay, yep, I'm going to do XYZ. Then comes all the limiting beliefs. Then comes all of the reasons why you can't do that. So I'll give you an example. Um, it was around this time last year that I was on a call with my coach, and we were going through my bucket list items of all the things I, dream of doing one day. And that was pretty easy, for me to we're just dreaming big, right? Like, okay, just write them all down, put them all on this paper. So I had lots of things on there, become an author, travel on my terms, financial freedom, hosting my own event. There was lots of things on the list.
Okay.
And we went through the list, and then she brought me back to one thing on the list, which was host my own event. And she's like, what's stopping you from hosting your own event right now? And immediately my brain switched to, well, yeah, let me tell you all the reasons why I can't do that right now. It's like, well, I don't have
Okay.
enough credibility. I don't have enough connections. I don't have enough money. What if no one comes? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not ready to do that.
Yeah.
And as I was saying them out loud, and this is really the power of coaching, is saying that stuff out loud. And as I said it out loud, I started to recognize like those sound like a heck of a lot of excuses. Where
Mhm.
in my head, they sounded so valid,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
true. And then as I was saying that, I'm like, it just sounds like I'm making a lot of excuses. And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, let me just wrap up this brain dump and I'll tell you like the really, I guess the answer to your question is what's stopping me is me. Like I can figure all that stuff out.
Yeah.
And so that's usually what we have to get through first is all of those limiting beliefs and what are the things that are holding us back?
Hmm.
Because actually the strategy piece to it isn't as hard as working through our own mindset. Because then once I got through those, the actual actions, yes, there was still a lot of stuff I had to learn about doing that, but we just broke it down into manageable steps and said, okay, like what's the first three things that you need to do to create your own event? Okay. I need to name the event. I need to find a venue and I need a way for people to buy tickets. Okay. That wasn't that hard to do. And then once I did those three things, then we took the next, set of three things. So the actual actions, especially if you're working with a coach or a mentor, they can help you with that. It's getting through the mindset pieces to really believe that that's meant for you and that that dream is possible for you
Yeah.
is really, I think, the first big chunk.
Okay. So what would you have to say to somebody? Because while we're talking about limiting beliefs, so one of the ones that might come up when somebody has this dream that they've identified and they want to pursue it is it feels inauthentic
Mm.
because whatever their current self-concept is of who they are, isn't currently aligned with where they want to go, right? So if they start down that path, it feels uncomfortable for a minute because they haven't yet grown or evolved into that idea of themselves. And I'll give you a concrete example, and I'll be a guinea pig, right? I'll use
Yeah.
myself. I'll be open and transparent. So my story for myself for years has been I'm an introvert, right? So anything that's involved being in front of people, talking with people, those kind of things, shied away from it. Don't want to see it, don't want to do it. I'm perfectly comfortable in my shell, and that's where I'm going to stay, right? I had some other passions that I started to want to pursue, and one of those was coaching, right? But part of that, to me, when I researched, was a good way to have more visibility and share is to speak to groups, do workshops, which required you to be in front of people, right? This podcast, being online. Now, social media is a big thing, right? You can't share a talent if nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
So it's required me to like come out of my shell. And I've only recently started to challenge my idea of myself being an introvert because as I've pushed myself out of my shell and identified people skills that I have, I'm starting to wonder, was that ever true or was that a product of my reality at that time? Right. But I had to be willing to be uncomfortable with detaching myself from that identity for a minute or what I believe that identity was. I still have to be by myself to recharge, which is really what introversion is. It doesn't mean you don't have people skills.
Yep.
But my thought about it initially was, don't bother me. It's uncomfortable. I prefer being to myself. That's where I'm comfortable. Right.
Mhm.
So giving you that example, Amanda, when we talk about reinvention and we talk about authenticity, what do you say to somebody who feels fake when they're
Mhm.
starting to pursue that dream because it doesn't register with who they think they are?
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And thank you for sharing that. I think that's really helpful. Um, and you hear that term imposter syndrome all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like that's essentially what we're talking about here is when you're pursuing something new or something different, 9 times out of 10, we're going to think like, I don't know enough. That's not who I am. Who's going to listen to me? Who am I to pursue that? Again, all of those types of things that come up with that. And what I love about your story is that you realized the number one, I think the difference between so there was a lot of truth to what you were saying and the fact that like yeah, you have to recharge your battery by yourself. But the limiting belief behind that was that means then that I'm not going to be good talking to people. I'm not going to be good leading people. I'm not going to be good presenting. Those were all the limiting beliefs that we leaned on from, kind of that core piece there. And so I think the more, and I know you know this through coaching, like that's where I would really say, like, work through it in coaching or with a therapist, because they are going to be able to see patterns in yourself and challenge those beliefs in ways that you just can't see because you've been operating in that autopilot scenario for usually years,
Yeah.
sometimes, most of our
Yeah.
lives, that it doesn't even come across our radar that that could be a belief and not a truth. I always say that beliefs are just thoughts that we've thought for so long that we now believe them to be true.
Love that.
It's just you've thought them so many times that you can't question, like you just don't question it. And
Yeah.
then the minute it comes into your awareness that, oh, hold on, like there could be another way,
Yeah.
then you had take the power back and you can start to choose in each one of those scenarios. Like again, I'm sure for you, it wasn't just an overnight thing. It
Yeah.
was each time you were faced with that opportunity, you then got to choose to say, okay, I'm an introvert and I can lead this group of people and I can do this workshop and I can become a coach. And so it first, I think, takes getting out of that autopilot, which again, I think a coach can really help you to identify.
Yeah.
And then you start to choose and you start to build that muscle to almost rewire your subconscious to then say, this is who I am. And
Yeah.
then you start to really feel it as your new identity.